ANDERZÉN.
What's going on, you guys? Jumping in the video real quick before we hop back outside, just to show you guys what I did for hardware on the plate. That's my son in the background. I went to the hardware store. Somebody at some point replaced one of the bolts with this on one of them. This is, just like a shanked or a bare shank top, and it's a little bit shorter than the factory ones, but it works just fine. And I just tested out thread length that is coming out the bottom. It's totally fine. So these are the factory ones. I have 3 good ones, and they do have the retained washer, which is nice. But we're gonna switch over to these stainless ones, and I got washers for them as well. They're M6 bolts, and I didn't get the length on them, sorry, but just match them up to what you have. Should be good to go. And then for the cover plate, I'm gonna keep it simple. These are M4s matching the old ones that had the safety Allens on them, or stars on them. So I am just gonna keep it simple and do nice Phillips head stainless hardware again for the 4 spots to keep the cover on. So let's get this buttoned up and let's go put it back in the car. All right, guys, we're back at the E420 now. We're going to get the throttle body plugged in. I think what I'm gonna do first, plug it in, put it in the, turn the key on ignition power, and then see after 30-40 seconds the throttle body should be moving, or at least making some noise. That'll kind of let us know if it's working. I mean, I'm confident what I did as far as the wiring goes, but you never know, better to test before we throw it in here. So we'll do that. I am going to go back to the old intake setup just for now, just for ease. This is the coupler that I'm going to use for the throttle body, and then the MAF will attach to this. I have a silicone piece on the outside of this just to make the filter a nice snug fit. And then later on, I'm going to actually pipe an intake from here to where the washer fluid reservoir is, but that'll come down the road. For now, let's just get into it. Let's plug in our throttle body and get it tested. All right, guys, one little trick I like to do, by the way, for the throttle body install is the spring that hooks on to the side, kind of return spring, and the ball joint for the throttle cable. I like to hook them together, basically. This makes it easy so you don't have to try to dig them out afterwards. They'll stay like that, and then you can basically grab a set of pliers, grab the spring, put it on, and then same thing with the ball joint. But first, before we do anything, let's plug it in, test it. Okay, guys, plugged in. I'll get you guys a better view in a second, but let me turn the ignition on. Okay. It's a good sign. Let's move forward. Alright guys, so what I did with the tubing on here, this is silicone tubing. I did that to replace a line that used to run up here, and I tested out last time. It's long enough to run basically through the runners down here. You guys are not going to be able to see really, but through there, and it's smooth surfaces, so it's not like hitting anything weird. And then it will connect back to this line. And then the throttle body, the reason I lengthened it is because I wanted to go through the same spot basically instead of coming up here. So that should be no problem as well to go back there, and there's nothing really sharp that it can like chafe on. I'll double check, put my hands back there real quick, but I think that's going to be the plan, to route both of them through that spot. At very least just this tube, and then this can still go up top, but see how it goes, I guess. Okay, as far as the dance goes for putting the throttle body in, you want to basically lean it in with this side kind of pointing down at an angle, and then while keeping that up a tiny bit, you're basically starting to slowly rotate it down, and eventually it'll basically drop right in. Takes a little bit of practice, but you'll get it once you do it enough times. Like I said, the first time I took it out, it took me like 45 minutes. When I just took it out on camera with you guys, literally the entire clip was like 4 minutes, and the part where I was actually pulling it up was like 30 seconds. So you can go back to that video and kind of get a glimpse of how that was done. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna go for it, and I'll update you guys in a second. Alright guys, we are in. Decided I'm not gonna do the wiring through the bottom there. I'll keep it in the stock location. But yeah, we're in place. The gasket was still good on my throttle body, by the way, and big life hack, silicone the gasket to the throttle body first, or to the manifold. Let it seal up, and that way it's not going to be a nightmare trying to like match it up as you're going. I struggled with that the first time too, not knowing that trick, or not doing it correctly. So next thing to do is get the ball joint and the spring connected, so get that done, and then keep on moving. Okay guys, both of the ball joint and the spring are on. Get yourself some little pick tools, makes it easy putting the spring on. And then I usually just use a flat blade screwdriver to get the ball joint started, and then you can pop it off, or pop it on by hand. Next thing I'm gonna do is line up the Allens and get those screwed down. Okay guys, all the bolts are down. Next thing I'm gonna do is start connecting these things. I'll do the connector last, but I'm also going to put the silicone coupler on there. Gotta tighten it down, and then the MAF just basically squeezes into it. Just keep it simple. Alright guys, one big life hack for you. Just figured this out. I used to use like the flexible extension and go through the fuel rail basically to get this clamp. But I just figured out, if you position it just right and use a little extension on your quarter ratchet, you can fit it right between the brake booster and the edge of the throttle body perfectly to tighten up that bolt, because otherwise it is a pain to get it tight, and it's always kind of like you don't feel good about it because you don't know if you got it all the way tight. But this way I for sure will be able to. Okay guys, I believe we are ready to start it up. Fingers crossed. Everything's plugged in. This hose, connector. This is also nice and solid, by the way, even without the little safety lock. It clicks in nicely. MAF is plugged in. Everything else is how I left it. So let's go ahead and give this thing a whirl. All right, let's go guys. Let's close this up. Oy. It's been a while. Sorry I kept you waiting for so long. W124. hoping that was just oil pressure not being at the top. That's why we're getting that knocking. See if it goes away as it gets warmed up. But fired right up, that's a good sign. Alright guys, the ticking has diminished a little bit. Still there though. Big concern about that. That definitely wasn't there before. I'm hoping that it's just oil pressure needs to get up to the top. Don't trust my oil pressure reading over here, it's not accurate. It's possible, it could be a cam oiler tube. I probably should have taken off the crank pressure sensor and got some oil pressure up to it, but I did not. So let's drive it around the neighborhood and I'll report back. I'm not gonna leave, I'm just gonna do some laps around the neighborhood. Okay guys, she is back. The ticking sounds like it's gone away a little bit. The gearbox is definitely being noisy just from sitting for so long, but I am gonna go out on the road now and give it a test drive. I don't have a mount with me, so you guys will have to just trust my word for what happens. I'm gonna keep it very easy on the route we're going. I'm just gonna go left and yeah, just keep it tame. Alright guys, I'm back home. Started getting a little nervous there. I don't know what's going on, but basically when I'm letting off the clutch in first gear, it's just feeling like it's wanting to die again. It was stumbling a little bit when I was out. I'm not getting the ASR light like I was before. I'll have to check for codes, but just kind of weird. Doesn't feel great, not really giving me full confidence yet. Huh, that's weird. It's my brake pedal. My brake pedal feels a little weird right now. I don't know. The car is not feeling great right now, guys. It's not really giving me full confidence, unfortunately. The ticking went away. That's the gearbox if you guys hear anything right now. And it's like idling fine, but I don't know. I'm not fully confident yet. I'm gonna have to drive it some more and just keep an eye on things. Definitely not gonna be the daily driver to work right now, unfortunately. I gotta gain some confidence back in this thing. See, it's kind of stumbling every once in a while. Alright guys, I just looked. It's still throwing code 6. So yeah, I need to get the actual scanner and see what that is. Alright guys, well, I made one unexpected discovery when I was looking at the wiring. Hard to see, of course. And this thing is heavy because it is soaked down here. This is the driver's footwell. And it is basically all filled up with water. Like it's been soaking up residual. And I don't know where exactly that would be coming from. My guess is maybe up here by the what's it called? Clutch feed line. No, to be honest, but you know, water and electronics don't mix. This is not wet. Sorry guys, I have no light with you right now, but It's sitting and idling here fine. It starts up fine. I gotta check what's going on. Alright guys, well after about an hour of messing around, looking over things, both floor pans were wet on the driver's side. The driver's side was like soaked. There was like actual puddles in between the little channels there. Passenger side was a little damp, but that's, I mean, mostly because the foam on both sides basically sucked everything up. From reading online, it sounds like, you know, if there's water getting in anywhere, which obviously there is with how much condensation is being collected on the windows, it basically just finds the lowest point and ends up sitting in the footwells most commonly. So I'm gonna check the back right now. I'm gonna start it up here in a little bit to let it run and try to bump the heat up. I did redo a couple vacuum lines on here. I also noticed that the way that I routed this, it was like touching when I got back from my drive on the back of the throttle cable mechanism. So that could have been causing it to kind of like catch on it and cause it to be a little weird. So hopefully that was why we were getting that weird, you know, initial launch on first gear off the clutch. If not, we gotta keep diving in. But I did this vacuum line. It just felt a little bit loose. I want to do that. That goes into the 3 split up there. And then I had been running the silicone line that goes to the EZL and down to the back of the manifold, but it wasn't really the correct size and it wasn't fitting tightly onto the vacuum ports. So I did a little connection there with vacuum tubing that I had, nice tight fit. And then I basically did the same thing on the back side. Over there, I don't think you guys will see, but right about there. Intake setup still the same. I'm gonna end up changing this up anyways, but it'll at least work for now. But I mean, there's no smoking guns as far as anything else that would cause the issues I was having. So I'm just gonna start it up right now and let it run for a while. Here are the carpets. They're absolutely soaked. So I'll be taking those to my back patio, let them dry off for a few days. Luckily, where I had all the wiring, it was sitting above where the water was, so that didn't get wet, which is good. Let's see, which key? I believe it's this one. All right. Oh my God, pedals feel weird because there's nothing under my feet. Well, that's weird. Alright guys, I'm just gonna let it run for a while, and just try to get it warmed up in the cabin. It sounds like it's running fine right now. It's weird that it did that kind of issue on the startup right there. I don't know guys, I am kind of stumped as for now. I'm almost curious to start leaning fuel related, like maybe fuel pump or something. Could be injectors, could be, I don't know, but it's still got that tick. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's a bit bizarre. Honestly, a bit stumped right now, so just gonna sit here and let it run. Alright guys, he's running steady, but I have the slightest feeling that one of the cam oiler tubes has popped on this side. The sound's just, I don't know, I'm hearing too much comparing to the other side. There's almost nothing. But this side, right around here, not sure if you'll be able to pick it up on camera, but it definitely sounds like what I've heard that sound like. Alright guys, I've been driving around my neighborhood about 15 minutes. I let it idle for about 20 minutes before that. I can already feel a difference, just like it's not stumbling as soon as I started driving it. It doesn't feel like it's gasping for air or trying to stay running, which it started doing after I had been driving it before. So that's very good news. I'm gonna go ahead and park it, but much more promising than how we started out. That rattling, I believe, is the filter cover on the cowl. I don't think I tightened it all the way. But yeah, it's idling dead smooth. It just drove around fine. I was gassing it as much as I can in a tight, closed neighborhood, but feels pretty good. Very relieved. Turn this off real quick. Very relieved in comparison to before. Honestly, it was kind of like a gut punch having it not run good and just make me lose confidence so quick into the test drive after first putting it in. But I'm hoping that it was a combination of those loose vacuum lines and that hose that I had routed rubbing on the backside of the throttle linkage, because that would definitely make that feeling of like, it basically felt like it wanted to die when I was trying to let off the clutch and go into first gear, and then as soon as I would, you know, rev it up, then it would like feel like it was kind of fine, but not all the way. So I'm glad I got to let it heat up. I'm glad I got the water out of the bottom, and I'm gonna let this thing just kind of sit overnight, and we'll be back to it tomorrow afternoon, probably when I go from work. And then Wednesday, I got a short day of work, so hopefully I'll be able to really test it out. I'm hoping I can like slowly gain some confidence in it, and I would like to start driving this thing to work again like I was, because I really like driving it as a daily driver. So, to be continued.
Look me in my eyes, then tell me what you